Good morning everyone. We're at the eastern edge of the village and we're going to cross some fields going nowhere in particular, but it's a lovely sunny morning, so I may as well get out there and enjoy it. Make the most of this blue sky. We're just leaving what psychogeographers refer to as the edge lands. In any sort of major conurbation you have a town centre, and then you have suburbs where people live, and then out in the periphery you have the big box retail stores and supermarkets, and then finally at the very point where the streetlights end, where all the town infrastructure gives way to open countryside, you have this kind of penumbral zone of cell phone masts and drainage outlets and abandoned freight containers. And it's a fascinating environment and a very beautiful one if you allow yourself to see it that way. Now, ours is a very, very tiny town, so it doesn't have much like that, but I guess this would qualify. This gully I'm walking past here for the bulrushes, it's an artificial trench to drain water off the hills. They built a few new housing estates here, and this area is prone to flooding because it's at the foot of the Cotswold Hills. So they've had to channel some of the water out into open ground. Oh, see that? Bright yellow bird, is that a jay? I don't know much about birds, I like looking at them, but I don't know the terminology that much. Walking this little track here. It's part of the housing development. They've built a little walkway for dog walkers and joggers right at the end of the houses. Well, that's where we're going, out into the fields. And I've got to cut along this track just here. Absolutely fantastic day. I was out a couple of days ago and it was a cloudless sky, absolute azure, and it was an almost psychedelic experience just walking through these primary colours. It's intense green, intense blue. I got a bit more cloud cover, not a huge amount, but it's still absolutely idyllic. Guess we'll step over him or her. We'll be crossing farmland most of the way. I tend not to come out here because it is just fairly plain farmland. Out in the winter, these fields are just a vista of mud. But today, it's the height of summer. We're getting that way. And the fields are looking their best. They've actually got crops in them. So let's cross a few and enjoy what we can. If I just turn that way, you can see the actual Cotswold Hills, or our little one. I don't know if you can see a white house at the centre there. That's an old pub, the Farmer's Arms. I've had a few meals there. Apparently they're going to knock it down. They're going to build a primary school on that northern edge of the village, which is pretty close to where I live, but our house is back from the road, so it should be okay. When I go for a walk, I normally climb those hills because it's a very textured landscape. There's lots of little homesteads and woodland copses. There's less of that out here. This is fairly standard commercially exploited farmland. And also if I climb a hill, that's a bit of cardio. Hills around here are not exactly alpine, they're only a few hundred meters high, but it's enough to get you puffing and wheezing. Just sort of a few rabbits run into these hay bales. I guess they're using it as a very convenient warren. I can hear sheep, I can't see them. Let's get to the edge of this field and take a look. Oh, there they are. Hey guys. Lambing season. A few lambs about. Bunch enjoying the shade already. Relax. I will not attack. Now check out that magnificent tree. Is that an oak? I don't know much about trees, but that looks fantastic. If you come by in winter, it looks very gothic and foreboding with its bare branches. But look at it now. Absolutely phenomenal. I think we've got to head this way. It's actually been a while since I've been out this way. I just about remember the route where I want to go. There's a tiny little village, or very small town, up ahead called Stoke Orchard. And that's usually my turnaround point. I walk out till there and then just walk back. Today I'm toying with the idea of going a little bit further, crossing a few more fields. I'm scoping out a picturesque route to Tewkesbury. It's quite a long trip, I've done it before. The walk is about 14 miles, which for someone as ancient and unfit as me is quite a challenge. But the route I used before was slightly gruesome. It went past a sort of chicken farm and stunk like hell. So maybe I can find a route that's a bit more relaxing. There's a lot of little roe deer in this area of the countryside. And they're very, very shy. And the moment you enter a field, they'll leave it. They'll leap over a hedge. I haven't seen them for a while. It's probably because it's the wrong time of day. It's past 9 and the sun is already high. I imagine they'll be taking shelter in the shade somewhere. And also there's been a lot of construction work around here and a lot of roadworks. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's pushed them a bit further north into the sort of less developed countryside. Let's cross over. Just coming up on Tewkesbury, you can see it through the branches there. There's a little white dot between those two branches, and that's the tower of Tewkesbury Abbey. Tewkesbury's a lovely old town, a lot of medieval buildings. Also has a preserved battlefield. It's the site of the Battle of Tewkesbury. During the late medieval period, there was what they call the Wars of the Roses. It's 2 aristocratic houses of Lancashire and Yorkshire, I think they were. And they were slugging it out for the throne. Plenty of yeomen dying for the egos of rich aristocrats. And Tewkesbury was one of the decisive battles that kind of settled it. I can't even remember who won. But after that you get the succession of Richard II and Henry IV and Henry V. So if you're into your Shakespeare plays, that's one of the precursor battles to that. I'm walking the long way around the edge of this field. The path actually cuts diagonally across. If you look on a rights-of-way map, the old medieval right-of-way that's established goes across the field, but the farmers seeded this place with this crop, so I'll be nice and walk on the verge. That's where we've just been, walking the edge of that field from the sty that's over there. And normally when I do this walk in winter, that would be quite a slog through the mud. So this tends to be my stop point. Just stop by these trees and have a thermos of coffee But today we're going to be a bit more intrepid and cut across these fields. Now, I can see sheep in the field up ahead, so I imagine the farmer sort of has his sheep penned up there for lambing. And when he feels they're all sort of healthy and secure, he'll let them loose in here to fatten up. That's a guess. I don't know much about farming. That is the thing about these walks. I encounter plants, trees, bushes, birds, and I don't know much about them. And I could Google and learn about the countryside, but actually I'm not sure I want to, because the whole point is to get away on these walks. You get away from the sort of physical infrastructure of humanity, the roads and the houses and shops. But there's also the kind of thought edifice of words, kind of scaffold of language, categorizations, meanings, values. Once you get out into the fields, none of that sort of matters anymore. It doesn't extend that far. You're kind of out into wordless mystery. I've just got to cut across this field, and then we reach the railway line. This isn't the steam railway that runs around here. This is the actual sort of main commercial railway route. I'm not particularly fond of scrambling over live railway lines, but you got to do it. It cuts across the entire landscape. There's no way around it. Every time I approach one of these fields, dozens of crows take off. They're very shy out here. Crows that live in the centre of the village are a lot more bold. They hang around the chip shop and try and nick your saveloy. Okay then, stop, look and listen. Well, luckily we can see pretty far in both directions here. There's a green signal all the way down there. And down there is amber, which I'm hoping is referring to the train that just went through. Let's scamper across anyway. And now we've got a couple of fields here, right next to Stoke. You can see a couple of dog walkers up ahead. That's what this land is mostly used for. There seems to be a sort of track cut in the grass. So people used to amble their dogs around. I'm not sure I'm going to film much. Oh, good night. Damn. I'm not sure I'm going to film much going through Stoke Orchard itself. No offence to Stoke Orchardans, the population of Stoke Orchard. But folks, your little village is incredibly boring. What I'll do is I'll cross through it and then I reach the motorway bridge. Mostly just getting birdsong right here, but there is actually a motorway a few hundred yards ahead. And there's a footbridge that crosses it. Again, if I walk this far, it's usually my turnaround point. I stand and look at the traffic for a minute or two, then just wander back. But today I want to go a bit beyond it. There's some nice houses in Stoke Orchard, but the traffic is just nuts. Luckily I managed to get off the road. Now from this point on, it's all new to me. This should take us down to a few fields. And then I just cut along the edge for about 5 or 6 fields. And that'll get us near Tewkesbury. And get us away from all this traffic noise. heavy going. I was walking through that switchgrass over there, and it was actually a bit of an ordeal. So I'm just going to go to the lip of the crops over here, where the ground is a bit less overgrown. See that? It's the first deer I've disturbed. Hello, deer. It's pretty cool about my presence. Where are you going to go? How long he's going to be here. He's pretty chill. He's going to go back in the grass, I think. Time for a drink and a map check, I think. You know what, I'm going to call this my turnaround point. I've checked the map, I'm slightly disoriented, I don't know exactly where I am. So that's okay, I'll go home, check Google Earth, and work out where I've gone wrong. There's a sty, a gate, somewhere around here that should take me across a bunch of fields. And I can't locate it right about now. So I think we should head back to the church and have a sit down. I'm just circling St James's, Stoke Orchard. It's their little church. Little chapel bell on the top. I don't know anything about it, I could Google it. I probably should have done that before I came out. You can tell a certain amount by the age though. See that little slit window there? And the door just there. They have a completely rounded semicircular arch, and that means it's the Norman church. When the Normans invaded Britain about 1,000 years ago, the French, they brought that particular style of architecture. And then in church that's about sort of 800-900 years old will have those rounded arches. Whereas this bit that's been added on the end looks like an extension. It was done fractionally later. And you can see the little windows there have a bit of a point at the top. And that is later Anglo-Saxon. So I reckon that bit at the end is a late addition. I could try the doors, see if it's open, I guess. A lot of villages like this don't have their own dedicated vicars anymore, which means their churches are only opened now and again, which is a shame. It means you can't sort of just breeze in and look around. I could try the lock, I suppose. There's a door just there, and there was another door just around here. Well, this looks bigger, a bit more official. Should I try it? Don't know if it's alarmed. It hasn't been opened in a long while. I wonder how you get in. Oh, good thing is there's some shade at the back here. I'll fold my camp chair and sit for a while. I'm tempted just to steam on across the fields and go home. But it's very hot. And I'm a little bit tired, so it might be a good idea to sit and rehydrate. Crack open the flask of coffee. Force myself to take a breather. What do you reckon? This looks like a good spot right here. I just googled this church. Apparently it was built in 1170. That Norman bit. And this bit over here was about 14th century. And apparently there's some really nice medieval murals inside, but it is locked. We can't get in. Really annoying. I'd love to see it. Oh well, may do with some coffee. I'm just heading out of Stoke Orchard now, just retracing my route and go back the way I came. The reason I'm turning around is I got lost in that big field back there. Looked like I'd taken a wrong turning, which is fine. It's all part of the fun of exploring. It just means I'll go home, I'll look on Google Maps, because the satellite imagery is an absolute godsend. It gives you this kind of drone's eye view of the landscape, and you can see where you went wrong, and look at the track and see where you can go next time, just to get a little bit further, explore a little bit more of the countryside. So I don't reckon I should have been in that field, but I got to see 2 deer fairly close, so that's a win. I did play back some of this footage whilst I was sitting in the churchyard, and I do apologise for my puffing and wheezing. I'm holding the phone fairly close to my face because the wind is buffeting. I'm trying to minimise that, and of course the microphone's catching every single breath and exhalation. Makes it sound like I'm really puffing and sweating, but I promise you I'm not. I'll need to get that sorted out. I've got some external microphones, but still juggling around how best to use them. Man, it's a nice day. I could come this way again, but it's Stoke Orchard. I mean, it's a lovely place. There are some nice little houses and some nice little byways. And that church is great. I'd love to get in there and have a look at the medieval paintings on the wall, but just the traffic is such a huge downer. There's the traffic on the motorway, and there's traffic through that village all the time. I was trying to record some footage of the weather vane just for the sake of it, because it was glinting very prettily in the sun, but trying to get, like a 10-second snatch of footage without some heavy goods vehicle in the background or a motorbike. Virtually impossible. So that's why I don't come out this way that often and head off into the hills, because there's no major roads up there, obviously. It's more of a chill vibe. That's behind us now. We're back out into the fields, back towards Bishop's Cleeve. Coming up on the railway line in a bit. And I did record some footage of the motorway when I was noodling about in some of the woodland paths there, trying to find my way with all that traffic noise in the background. And I'm debating whether to include it or not in the final little film I'll put up on YouTube. Because on the one hand, nobody particularly wants to see traffic. But as an authentic record of my experience, I mean, that is what happened. There is some bird over there making quite an exciting gurgling noise. No idea what that was. Yeah, but that is the quandary when you go out walking with just your little phone camera, trying to keep a record. What do you record? Do you basically try and falsify the experience and eliminate all the grotty, boring bits and create the illusion you just had this sort of paradisical walk through the countryside? Depends what you're trying to give your audience, I suppose. Are you trying to give them a fantasy or the grounded reality of walking through a bit of Gloucestershire countryside? I guess I'll put it in. Well, train going through. They seem to go past every 5 or 10 minutes, so I guess I'll have to be careful crossing especially careful crossing the railway line. Those are butterflies. Are you seeing these? Little red admirals there. It's encouraging. Some more over there. Probably can't see them that close up. There's been a decline in the insect population in the UK. I remember when I was a kid, we'd go on drives. Dad would drive us in his car. And at the end of the drive, the windscreen in front of the car would be absolutely splattered with bugs. These days, not a thing. And it's having a knock-on effect. There's fewer butterflies around. Fewer birds like swallows. Less insects. It hits the bird population. People are making a bit of an effort. Oh, so I was open this route here. Guess some farm machinery went through. It was closed a minute ago. Let's have a look. Let's be nosy. Holy cow. This is a big old field. Big by British standards anyway. I'm sure if you live in Kansas, this would be your front lawn. I wonder what they're cultivating. Well, there he goes down there. Another train just zoomed up there. So hopefully we're cleared across. Let's make it quick. To safety. Let's get over here and go and say hi to the sheep. All clustered in the shadow of those trees over there. Man, look at that. That is an amazing sky. Let's just stop a moment and pan around. Check this out, I'm being studied by sheep. Coming over to say hi. Hello. Hello. No, it's a long slog around this field, but just get into the rhythm of it and enjoy the bit of the crunchy soil. Oh, more deer. And he's going all the way out there. He's paused to look at me. Tempted to wave. Oh well. Yeah, there he goes. Let's continue on. Almost home, only a couple more fields to cross. Really blistering heat. There's a few sheep out in the field, the centre of the field in the sun, but you can see most of them in the shade of this hedge. Sitting out the noonday heat. There's the village over there, rooftops are starting to ripple. It's alright, we'll be home soon, just got to cross this field and the next one and back to the streets. I'm pretty much home now, I'm back on the dog walking, jogging track that runs around the edge of this estate. Looking forward to being home in a sec. Sitting down in the cool, having a nice cold drink. So I'll see you again soon. Thanks for tagging along.